Good evening and welcome back to Closing Arguments. I'm Ted Rollins in tonight for Vinnie Politan, and we're going to begin this hour with a story from Colorado that we've been following. Barry Morphew is charged with first-degree murder in the death of his wife, Suzanne Morphew, who was 48 when she disappeared from the family's Chaffee County home in May of 2020. Today, Morphew's trial was moved from Chaffee County to Fremont County after the court ruled that Morphew could not get a fair trial in his home county. Megan Lopez from our great affiliate Denver 7 has some background on this case.
Surrounded by his daughters after posting a $500,000 bond, Barry Morphew was released from the Chaffee County Detention Center. He's the man accused of killing his wife Suzanne last year around Mother's Day. Her body has never been found. On the same day he was released, a roughly 130-page arrest affidavit was made public. In it, investigators lay out their case against Morphew in a timeline of events. It starts in January 2020, when they say Suzanne took, quote, clear, articulable steps to separate from and divorce her husband. Suzanne apparently told her family and friends of her intentions her husband at first denied knowing about. On May 6th, Suzanne sent a text message to Barry saying, quote, I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly. For about a year before she disappeared, Suzanne was having an affair with an old high school friend. On May 9th, her last proof of life was at 2:03 p.m. when she sent a selfie to Jeff Libler, the man she was having an affair with, and a text message a few minutes after. She didn't respond to his messages around 2:44 and 2:46 p.m., and around the same time, Barry Morphew put his phone into airplane mode. Investigators say they believe Barry, quote, took steps to dispose of evidence in Suzanne's disappearance and death, create a false alibi for himself, and stage a crime scene. Suzanne was reported missing by a neighbor on May 10th. Her bicycle was found in the woods the same day. Her helmet was found in another location, but other items she normally biked with, like her camelback and cell phone, were at home. That same day, Barry Morphew was spotted on surveillance cameras in Broomfield making at least 5 trips to garbage cans near a McDonald's and a hotel. Also included in the affidavit, the fact that Suzanne was secretly recording Barry with a spy pen and taking notes on her phone about their relationship, saying, quote, not safe with you, can't be trusted, and oppressive. They also found inconsistencies in Barry's story. The affidavit concluded with, quote, Barry could not control Suzanne's insistence on leaving him, and he resorted to something he has done his entire life, hunt and control Suzanne like he hunted and controlled animals. But whether this timeline or the evidence is enough to convict Barry Morphew of murder will be up to a jury to decide.
And now, for the first time since Barry's arrest, court documents have been released with color photos of some of the evidence you saw in that piece. Prosecutors say proved that Barry Morphew killed his wife, including in the court documents text messages between Suzanne and a friend prior to her disappearance in May of 2020. On March 25th, 2020, Suzanne writes to the friend, I need to ask your opinion on it. He also asked me if I'm talking to anyone about our marriage, like friends. The friend replies, make sure he doesn't see your phone. You keep it with you. Suzanne, he came home when the girls are gone. He won't speak of divorce, begging for another chance. I'm so torn, but I'm in my heart, I know who he is. Later, then on April 2nd, the friend writes to Suzanne, how are things on the home front right now? Suzanne replies, it changes like the wind, as usual. Long text this morning of apology and declaration. It's sad. I feel bad. I don't want to cause him to have to do this. There's just become a point that the reality of what's never been there is sobering, and I've accepted what is. He can't change the core person, makes me wonder what the young me was thinking. And on one of the most compelling messages included in the documents was this one. A text from May 6, 2020 on Barry's phone that had been deleted reveals what FBI agent Johnny Grusing believes was a very significant step on Suzanne's part to leave her husband. The message reads, I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and what you've been doing for years. We just need to figure this out civilly. Let's bring in our investigators tonight. Joining us in Salt Lake City, Utah, retired police commander and host of Profiling Evil, Mike King, and in Los Angeles, California, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon. Good morning to both of you, or good evening to both of you guys. Great to see you. Mike, to you first on this. First of all, let's talk about the change of venue. Chaffee County, it's a pretty small county, and people know this case. Was that the right decision by the judge to get it out of there?
I wonder if the judge is just looking at this as, how do I avoid the the least number of appeal processes that may occur and reasons for filing an appeal if in fact Morphew is convicted at some point down the road. So if there's that argument out there, why not make the change? It's a small enough venue that it's going to be pretty hard to find a juror anywhere in the United States that hasn't heard about this case. But I would assume locally it is a real problem finding someone who doesn't have an opinion about this particular case.
There's so much evidence that's come out, Bobby, now through the preliminary hearing. And in the preliminary hearing in Barry's case, it was also revealed that Suzanne had been having an affair of her own with a man that she knew from high school, a guy by the name of Jeff Lieber. Investigators believe Suzanne's last proof of life was a selfie that she sent to him on May 9th, 2020, around 2 in the afternoon. And one other unusual piece of evidence in this case is this spy pen. The pen was found in a closet in the master bedroom and apparently captured some audio of conversations with Suzanne and the person he was having an affair with. So, Bobby, moving forward to trial, you know where this is going, where the defense is going to be pointing the finger at the boyfriend. And it wasn't the husband, it was the boyfriend. Your thoughts on the significance of that and the fact that he didn't come forward?
Well, yeah, I know the boyfriend apparently is married with 6 children, lives in Michigan, but what from my understanding is that they took a hard look at him, the investigators did. He had a pretty airtight alibi on where he was. He lives far away, so it's fairly easy the further away you are to establish you weren't anywhere near where the crime happened. So I think that they did their due diligence and they looked at him as a possible suspect, but given the totality of the evidence as it was coming into them, they dismissed him as a suspect because of his alibi, because of the distance, and all of this other stuff that points to the husband. I think there's still some things that are problematic for the prosecution. I think there was some DNA found in her car that might pose an issue. So it's not as shut and closed and dried as it would appear. A lot of these cases, look at just the husband. I think here they did look at the boyfriend, and they ruled him out, I think, properly.
Mike King, what stands out to you as the biggest problem for the state in this case moving towards trial?
I think it's going to be the noise that's being created, like Bobby suggested, over the DNA, over the relationship. And if that noise can be created in a way that keeps people from focusing on all of the circumstantial evidence that the state outlined in that 130 pages, then you could find someone who might have some concerns or questions. And that's what they really got to hope for, is that some member of that jury says, I just don't buy it. But again, I think it's going to be taking that DNA and helping the jury understand that partial does not mean that there's an absolute. And that's going to be the challenge I see first and foremost.
Bobby, what about the fact that there's no body here?
Well, we've seen this before. I mean, these cases do move forward without a body. You don't need a body. It makes it more difficult, particularly when she was having this affair, where part of the affair with this guy, they talked about running away to Ecuador and stuff. So I'm sure the defense will grasp at these straws and use all of these things to try to create, a doubt in one juror's mind, which is all they need. So I think that. I think the evidence is there. I think the story is told by the physical evidence in this case. He was moving around that house. He used some kind of, like he was shooting at chipmunks as an excuse onto why his phone is tracked all around that house around the same time they think the murder is taking place in a very erratic fashion, as if in the prosecution's theory, he was a very avid dart tranquilizer user on animals. He could have used a tranquilizer on her that didn't take effect for a while, and she was stumbling and trying to get away. And sure enough, the physical evidence of that phone moving around that house in such an erratic fashion that he explained it away that he was shooting chipmunks. And obviously, that's probably going to be what he says at trial.
Mike, give us a sense of how this community has been brought in, and actually the country has just been fascinated by this story, and they really do. They wanted answers. They wanted to find this woman alive. She's got, a family, and this was one of those cases that hit home, did it not? And it's going to be pretty easy for prosecutors to get whoever is on this jury to fall in love with this woman.
Yeah, I think one thing, and I would like to say on a point Bobby was making about that mobile drift that's occurring in the home. This is an area where there's really poor cellular reception. And so a phone can sit in one place and it will actually appear like it's drifting in a lot of places. And so when there's an argument that how can this person be running through walls, more of that's a technology problem that forensics will be able to explain as they get to that point in here. But I think this is a perfect example of where the true crime community can go too far and where they can really help. And it's a process of how do you best manage that? Andy took advantage of the true crime community, Suzanne's brother, when he chose to organize this search on his own because he was dissatisfied with the amount of searching that was being done by local authorities. And he alone was able to put forth and get 700 people to go out and volunteer their time and travel into town. We were fortunate to be able to provide him all the technology to track those people and the locations they went. And it was really neat to be able to very remotely, I might say, support him in his efforts as a family member. But I think it's a real lesson for us to look at these kinds of cases, and a lesson for law enforcement that they have to figure out how to manage the true crime community and put them to work in areas that they can control and get information that won't hurt their case, and yet stay out of their way when it comes to the fact that people want to help.
Bobby, that's the problem, isn't it? To keep them. It's one thing to say, "Hey, we're looking for volunteers in a certain area. It's gridded off, it's organized," but it can quickly turn on you, can it not? And you can lose, and you possibly can compromise an investigation if too many cooks are in the kitchen and people that are not professionals.
Usually, sometimes that can happen, Ted. I hate to, pour cold water on anybody's efforts like that, and especially when they have the feeling that they're not getting enough service from their local authorities. I think they have the right to get out there and do searches. I think it has to be done in the right way. I've seen it done many, many more times the right way and very few times the wrong way, but it does happen the wrong way sometimes. And so, somebody has to be out there and hopefully helping them. There are retired guys like Mike and I who actually will go out with groups like that and make sure that they don't cross that line that you're talking about and you're describing, Ted, and hurt the case, because that can happen. It doesn't happen often. It can happen. People can be overzealous in trying to do the right thing. Their hearts are usually in the right place. And so all it takes is a little management, usually, on that front.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have more new evidence photos in the case against Barry Morphew, picking up where we were left off there in his house. What was he doing? Ping-ponging around? That and more when we return. Stay with us.
Oh, Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you, we miss you, your girls need you. No questions asked. However much they want, I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you, and I want you back soon.
That was Barry Morphew in a YouTube video released early on in the disappearance of his wife, Suzanne. Suzanne's body has never been found, but Barry has been charged with first-degree murder. He's also been charged with tampering with physical evidence, attempting to influence a public servant, tampering with a deceased human body, and possession of a dangerous weapon. Newly released evidence photos show tranquilizer darts and a tranquilizer gun. The tranquilizer dart material was found in the Morphew garage, and the needle sheath cap was located inside a dryer. Investigators believe that Barry may have shot Suzanne with the tranquilizer dart before killing her and hiding her body. On the day Suzanne was reported missing, Morphew had checked into a Broomfield hotel about 150 miles away from their home, and he could be seen on hotel surveillance carrying items to and from the room and changing his shirt going in and out. Photos from the investigation show Morphew also made several trash runs that day at multiple locations. Also released in court documents photos of Morphew's hands and arm, which investigators believe show scratches Suzanne could have caused while trying to defend herself. Still with us, retired police commander and host of Profiling Evil, Mike King, and retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon. Bobby, to you on this first. The significance of the tranquilizer gun. It's a little bit out there, but it sure is a story, and you can visualize it. A juror, I'm sure, could visualize that happening, but also could poke some holes in it if you're the defense. Your thoughts on the significance of that?
Well, I think that married with the cell phone movements, and I think Mike is right what he said earlier about the cell phone staying put, and sometimes technology can waver on that. But he's already made the statement in response to that. He didn't think of the way Mike was thinking. He's already gone on the record and made a statement that said, "Oh, I was hunting chipmunks, and so I was running around in this erratic fashion, and that's why my cell phone's moving around like that." So he's already made that statement. If the defense now tries to come up with the theory that Mike just proffered, the defense is going to say, the prosecution is going to say that opens the door, and now we can bring in his statements about hunting chipmunks. And so I think that the significance of the tranquilizer gun, when married with the cell phone data that shows an erratic movement around the house, one can visualize, a human being getting tranquilized and not immediately going unconscious and trying to get away from the person that just shot me. Now, the vial in the washer or the dryer with her DNA on it is supports this kind of theory that the prosecution might put forth at trial, that he's very adept at using these tranquilizers. He wanted to use it to incapacitate her, and that's what he did, and that's why you see the movement, and that's why he came up with the hunting chipmunks excuse as to why he was moving around the house so erratically. A person that's tranquilized will move erratically. They're slowly losing their motor function, so they're going to trip and stumble and not move in a linear fashion. So someone chasing them is going to move in that same erratic type pattern. So I think that the tranquilizer does play a big role in the prosecution's theory.
And it's right out of a horror movie, Mike. I mean, just the idea of getting tranquilized and being half with it, and your attacker is chasing you around the house. What about that? The fact that Barry Morphew has spoken to the erratic movement, does that kill kind of your defense argument, which I thought was a great one, that this was technology at work, not a chipmunk hunter?
Well, actually, it's all really nicely fitting together, because if that information comes after confronted with, well, your phone's showing you moving all over the house, and he comes up with an answer like that, it's all information that may impeach things that Barry said. It may be something that supports what he said. But as Bobby painted that picture, I kind of tried to visualize if I were sitting on a jury, and I can visualize this movement through the house of someone who's trying to get away. There's physical evidence to support the door jamb that has damage to the door jamb, would suggest that at some point that door's been forced open. Did it happen then? Who knows? Was it something that came with the home and everyone overlooked it? Who knows? But all of a sudden you start putting all these pieces of circumstantial information together, and it paints a powerful and compelling story and picture. And I think that's why the judge bound it over for trial.
Mm-hmm. And again, there's going to be a change of venue in this case out of Chaffee County, Colorado, because of all of the pretrial publicity.